Hello, I'm Jeremy Nicholas. Welcome to the After Dinner Show. And I've got some brilliant guests for you tonight. There they all are. Give them a wave. Sam Rathling is a LinkedIn expert, has lived in 5 countries, grew up in a family of West Ham fans. She's got a scarf on tonight. In her younger years, she used to be a trampolinist and she's in Derby. Hello, Sam.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Jeremy.
Nigel Risner is a motivational speaker and chief zookeeper. He's in charge of zookeepers all across the world, and he comes to us from quite close to South Mims service station. Hi, Nigel.
Bonjour, comment ça va?
That's how they speak in South Mims. And he should have been at Wimbledon this week and then flying out to Tokyo for the Olympics on Sunday. BBC sports journalist Mark Shardlow joined us from Radcliffe-on-Trent. Hi, Mark.
Hey up, my duck.
Yeah. So you must be the most disappointed of all my guests, because you're the one that should have been at Wimbledon and then the Olympics, and you're actually on the after dinner show with me.
Well, it's a small consolation. Yeah, I should have had 2 weeks at Wimbledon, 5 weeks at the Olympics, and 3 weeks at the Paralympics. So that was my summer.
Very small consolation, Mark. Very small.
Now, Nigel, you used to be a professional tennis player and coach.
Yes, in Israel, and then looked after the Israel junior tennis team for 3 years at Wimbledon.
And what was that like?
Unbelievable. I mean, when you get a chance to be a player and coach and then have a player's pass for 3 years at Wimbledon, no queuing up, you just show your little accreditation. Unbelievable. But you don't want your players to leave Wimbledon too early, which I had, and then had a fight with Alan Mills because my players decided they wanted to go to Holland instead, and to be told no one has ever walked out of Wimbledon. And I went, I don't know.
What was that, Mark?
Yeah, I just wondered, do you get limitless strawberries with one of those passes, Nigel?
No, you don't. But you don't get limitless strawberries, but you do get any seat you want anywhere.
That's pretty good.
I think I'd go for the limitless Pims more than the strawberries, to be fair.
Well, if you support West Ham, that's the only joy you're going to have, isn't it?
Yes, staying with top quality sport. Just in the last few minutes, West Ham have lost at home to Burnley, and Sam and I a bit gutted because we're having a bit of a relegation crisis. But Sam's kindly put a West Ham. So why are you West Ham fan, Sam?
So my whole family from the East End, and I grew up, my grandparents, great grandparents, everyone's always been a Hammer. So just grew up with it, spent a lot of my childhood in Upton Park, and just love it. It's really
fantastic. Well, I've got my little Bobby Moore statue that always listens to all the games.
My dad's watching, actually. My dad's watching from Portugal tonight. Is he? So yeah,
lovely.
Dad a shout out.
What's his name?
Chris.
Hi, Chris in Portugal. Thanks for joining us live on YouTube. Right, so the deal is everyone has to tell a true story from first-hand experience. And I think we'll kick off with Mark. Now, Mark joined the BBC a week before me in 1987. Am I right? Or you joined Radio Nottingham. Were you already at Radio Derby before that?
Yeah, no, 2 years before you.
Right, okay, yes.
So much more experience than you, Jeremy.
Much more experience. So tell me a true story that hopefully has something to do with your old radio days.
Yeah, well, I was driving. I've been working at Bisham Abbey today, actually. I was driving back, listening to Test Match Special, and it reminded me of my first ever interview. The rain was coming down. There was no play. They were just talking about the weather rather than the cricket. And my first ever radio show that I worked on was so I started in July, and it was a wet July day, rather like today. There was no cricket, and my boss said to me, "Can you get an interview with a cricketer?" So I called Trent Bridge, which was my local club. The team were covering Nottinghamshire. I said, can I come down and interview a cricketer? And they said, yeah, come down at 2:30. We'll get a player for you. And this was my first ever interview. And you remember, Jeremy, I think they were still there when you started. We used to do interviews on big reel-to-reel tape recorders called Ewers. They were like a sack of coal that you took down there. I went down to Trent Bridge, 2:30. And I was presented with Derek Randall. Now, if you're not a cricket fan, Derek Randall was probably the most characterful cricketer of his era. He was an England player. He was incredibly famous. He was eccentric. He used to walk to the wicket singing "The Sun Has Got His Hat On" and annoy the Australian fast bowlers. But he was legendary. He was a fan's favourite. And I was absolutely terrified. This is my first interview at the age of 18 with such a legendary England cricketer. We sat down, started the recording. We probably went on for about 10 minutes. And then at the end of it, and I'm never quite sure whether it was a good interview or a bad interview, I did what we've been taught to do at journalism school: stop the tape, rewind it, play it back. So stopped the tape, rewound it, played it back. Didn't hear Derek Randall, just a whirring noise. My heart sank to my stomach. So I opened the tape to find out there is no tape in the tape. And Derek Randall said to me, he must have seen me go bright red. Don't worry, he said, I was going to suggest we did that interview again. I wasn't very good, and I'd really like it if we could do it again. So can we do it again? And I'll tell you some better stories. And I was really touched by that first interview experience. So much so that I went on to my second interview and I thought, right, I'm going to aim high. I called the football club Nottingham Forest, and the manager of Nottingham Forest at the time was Brian Clough. Brian Clough was probably the most famous man in British sport. He'd been interviewed by Michael Parkinson on the famous Saturday night chat show. He'd even been interviewed by David Frost. They had a half-hour special with David Frost, the legendary political interviewer. Such was his esteem. And I was absolutely terrified sitting there as an 18-year-old about to interview Brian Clough. He brought me into his room and he saw that I was shaking and he said, "You must be cold. It's freezing out there. Have a whiskey." Well, I didn't drink whiskey, but I forced one down myself. Oh, you got one there. I had one. I drank it in one shot. Are you going to do that for me? And then he said, "Have another." So I had 2 whiskeys before my first interview with Brian Clough. It was a lucid interview. And I'm sure there's some classic quotes that came out of it. I can't remember it. But what I do remember is that both Derek Randall and Brian Clough, who were at the top of their game at that time, gave me a leg up at the start of my career. So I'm always grateful to them. And I'd now always help anyone at the start of their career. And I also always check that I've got tape or a computer card in my recording gear.
That's lovely to hear that 2 such great names of British sport were so nice to a young, rather hopeless reporter. Unfortunately, Mark, just when you started that story, I realised I'd forgotten to press record and play. So could you just do that? Just to recreate that moment. Yeah. Hey, young man, you're shivering slightly. Why don't you have some of this?
Is that Derek Randall?
That was Derek Randall. Yeah, it's my Derek Randall. Absolutely spot on. Cracking story to kick us off. So no pressure for the others. Just before we go for Sam's main story, let's quickly go to Nigel because it was your birthday recently, wasn't it? I noticed you got.
I don't know. I told everyone it was my birthday, and I got some great chocolate.
Oh, lovely! Yeah.
Wow.
Not such a great client of mine sent me. That's just a shit one, but
You like chocolate, though?
Best Zookeeper, just behind me. Happy birthday.
Nice.
But I got the ultimate, just quickly.
Cracky, what's coming out now?
Can of Diet Coke.
Yeah. With your name on it?
Yeah, but a whole name, not just one, the whole name.
How do you do that?
Nice.
I could tell you, but I'd have to kill you. That'd be another, you have to invite me back for another story.
Great. Well, there's an open invitation. Well, that's fantastic. And tonight's show sponsored by Cadbury, so that's all good.
And Diet Coke.
And Diet Coke, yeah. You are the Diet Coke man at 11:30 that comes around and all the ladies stop for their break to look at you. Fantastic. We'll come to you for your story in a minute, but let's go live now to Derby, to Sam Rathling, who's got a story. Now, usually we do quite frivolous stories, but this is quite a serious story about something that changed your life, really, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I started my expert business in 2016. I'd been out of the country for 15 years, so I didn't really know anyone, and moved back I didn't really move to Derby for any other reason that it's in the middle of the country. So I grew my little business from a tiny little desk. Actually, I'm on that desk right now in the lounge. And I built my business up and grew it quite successfully, got it to over 6 figures. And I had a little message come in from someone on LinkedIn who'd been following me. And he was like, "I'm really impressed with what you're doing. I really want to help you to scale your business." And started to, kind of get to know each other a bit. And this guy came along and said, "Look, I want to help you to grow." And he said, "I want to invest in you and invest in the business to help you scale." So we kind of started to build a business together, grew everything. My team grew, everything was exploding. It was going amazing. And 6 months after this whole first introduction happened, I started to get the feeling that things weren't quite going to plan. And it turns out that actually what he was only looking for was all of the IP in my business, how I did everything. And 6 months after starting to work together, he decided to orchestrate a complete hostile takeover of everything I'd built. So this was about 2.5 years into building everything. So I literally I lost all my clients. I lost all of the team that I'd built. He'd put them into one of his other businesses, and I literally had to start again completely from scratch. And that was at the end of 2018. So there's I guess a couple of ways you can look at that situation. You could kind of, bury your head in the sand and cry and just go, well, I'll just give up. Or you could look at it as the greatest gift you were ever given. So imagine being able to start all over again, everything that you had built, and learn from all the mistakes that you'd made. So I just dusted myself down, got back up again, and just built everything from scratch from the beginning. And over the last 18 months, I've built a multi-six-figure business off the back of that one incident. And now I consider it to be the greatest gift I was ever given.
Fantastic. And do you keep in touch with him?
Yes, he's like one of my closest friends, Jeremy. We just, he's just.
Well, we've got a surprise for you, because he's joining us now live from his home in the Cayman Islands, which you paid for. I better not say his name, because otherwise there probably would be some.
No, we definitely can't do that.
You're doing well now. You're like one of the top experts in the UK on how to use LinkedIn, aren't you?
Yeah, well, you could say Europe, but yeah, you will go UK.
I'd say UK, but because I don't know all the French and German and Dutch ones, they might be really good. Are you Europe? Would you say
about my international day? I had a speaking gig in New Zealand. I had one in Canada, one in the US, and somewhere else today. So I've been all over the world today from my home.
Yeah, but technically none of those places are in Europe. So I'm going to say the UK. You're the number one in the UK, Sam. Yeah, I mean, all of what you do.
Derbyshire.
Derbyshire. No one in Derbyshire. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. That's right. No, you are the number one in the Derby area.
The Derby area, yeah.
You're from Derby originally, aren't you, Mark?
Yes, yeah. I have nothing bad said about Derby. That's my hometown.
All right. Okay. Well, just mute your speakers, because no, we're not going to do that. Right. Let's go to Nigel for his true story, and I don't even know what it's about, but I know he's going to show us something.
So, Jeremy, have you been to Iran? Did you go to Iran?
No, I haven't been to Iran. No, I'd be terrified to go there.
Every Jewish boy's dream is speak in Iran. Let me just share that with you now, okay?
Yeah.
So I spoke in Iran, and I was the opening speaker on the Thursday, the closing speaker on the Friday, and I spoke for literally 50 minutes on the Thursday morning, 50 minutes closing on the Friday night. I had like nearly 40 hours doing nothing. There was an exhibition where in the next hall to where we were speaking in Iran, and like most speakers, Jeremy, you don't get bored because you're normally emceeing and you've got to be on point. But if you're a motivational speaker and you're on one and then you got to close at the end, you get bored after half an hour. So you look at the exhibition stand, and there was some really cool stuff. And there was a guy there selling like massage machines that go round your shoulders, and it looked really cool. And I had some funny money, so I'd sold some books. And I said, look, I'm flying out early Saturday. So what I need you to do is just pack it up for me and then just put it in a box, and I can put it in my hand luggage. I thought that'd be cool. So Saturday night, I'm flying from Tehran airport back to London direct. Go up the stairs, walk through security, and then you put your hand luggage through the little machine. And as I put my hand luggage through the machine, there were alarms going off, and then there was a bell going off, and things started happening. And then I heard the famous words that you never want to hear: Uzbag, Uzbag, whose bag is this? And of course, I'm looking, thinking, I wonder whose bag that actually is. This will be interesting. At this point, and I swear this is the truth, there are police now running up the stairs. There are people being moved out of the airport, soldiers running up the stairs. And I'm thinking, this is going to be funny. I wonder whose bag that is. And all of a sudden, as they start moving, people are near the front saying, that's not my bag. There's just me left. And I'm guessing that might be my bag. And I kind of think, I wonder what's going on. So the guy brings me over. He says, what is this? What is this? And I look in the screen. And you know when you see an X-ray machine, you can see in the box. That doesn't look like my little machine. And it doesn't look like my massage thing. But I know what it looks like. And the one thing you don't want anything to look like when you're going through an airport is a suicide bomber jacket. And I want you to visualize Iran, the music. Do you remember the music from Midnight Express?
No, not really. But I remember the film was very scary, but the music was
there's
menacing,
music
but I wouldn't be
going
able to
on
sing it.
whilst the police have got him where he's found all his cocaine round his chest. And you can hear this music as he's being dragged through Istanbul airport. And I know at this point there's no embassy in Tehran. And I've just got visualizations of 18 years in prison with my wife touching the screen, looking at me. And so I try and explain to them, yes, that's what it is. I try and explain to them in my best voice, that isn't what you think. Because I now know what they think this might be. Now, they take out the bag and they start throwing all of my clothes out where there is just a box left. And I'm trying to explain what this might be. Now, I'm going to show you what it is because I asked them if I can demonstrate in my best Farsi what this is. And this is what I put on. Okay. I'd like you to close your eyes, all of you, just for a second.
Okay, they're all closed, yeah.
Close your eyes for 1 second. And I put this on me. Turn your shoulders. Open your eyes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And this is what I've got.
Yeah.
Now, there's a little red button on one side. There's wires and a plug. And I'm now looking in Tehran airport for a 2-point plug to show them this isn't quite what they think it is. Now, there are all batteries in here and there's all padding. And as I walk closer to the plug point, do you remember Chris Moon?
Chris Moon? No.
Yeah.
Who's
He
he?
is a army motivational speaker who lost his right arm and right leg. And the title of his book was going to be F Me, That Was Loud, when the bomb blew off his arm and leg. And as I put this into the plug point, either this is going to go off because I'm not sure what this is, or it's going to vibrate. As I put this in and it starts vibrating, the first little bit of wee came down my leg. They then all start laughing. The security and police all leave. And I'm left in the middle of Tehran airport with what looks like a suicide bomber jacket around my shoulders. Not one person spoke to me from Tehran airport back to Heathrow. And there were police waiting for me to deal with an incident when I got to Heathrow. And the message is, be very careful what gifts you take back from another country back to Heathrow. That's my little story.
So hang on. So the police were waiting for you at Heathrow because they've been told you might.
There might be other stuff in his bag because I had saffron, I had plates, and it was just an advisory comment just to make sure I was okay.
Right. So they let you on the plane though. But
oh yes. Well, they just thought it's not a bomb this bit, so it should be safe.
I wonder if the people didn't talk to you because of the little bit of wee, maybe.
Well, I did smell a little bit, but I had dark black trousers on, so it didn't look too bad. But I will tell you now that I have never felt so uncomfortable with everyone looking at me going, he's the bomber.
I can't quite see. Is that khaki, Nigel?
Sorry?
It looks like army issue.
It's one of the heaviest things you've ever seen. And I don't use it too often. It's never left my house. I'm too scared just in case the police stop me when I'm driving my car. It's going back in its bag. I've been waiting for a long time for someone to share this story so I could share it with some people.
And I should point out that Nigel said I was an MC and I don't really do the keynotes. I do keynote speaking, but I never get bored doing the keynote speaking, although my audience often do. But I never get bored when I do it, just to make.
I was nearly waiting for you to pick me up on that. What I meant to say was you're often in the room for most of the day, emceeing as well as keynoting, whilst I might do my slot and then leave. And also, I don't normally speak this late at night, if you remember. I'm normally better before 2 o'clock, and you're better after 2 o'clock, as we so once decided to have a conversation about.
You say, well, we had that conversation. I remember at a convention one time, and you said that you thought I was probably better than you from about 3 o'clock onwards. And then I saw you again a year later, and you said, I think you're better than me from about 4 o'clock onwards. But now, today, I'm better than you from 2 o'clock onwards. So I'm actually I'm actually the best I've ever been.
But I've done not bad after 8:15, which is an exceptional role for me.
Yeah, you're doing well. You're doing well in the evening. Because, I'm naturally in it. If I haven't had a chicken dinner, I'm never really on very much form. Excellent. Well, that's a cracking story about going abroad. Mark, I just want to share with you a story. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when my very first day at Radio Nottingham, So I would have known you for a week then. And it was the first time I read the sports news on Radio Nottingham. And I'd come from Viking Radio in Hull, which was a commercial station, so it didn't have such a fancy desk. And at the Radio Nottingham thing, you didn't have to do your own controls. You had someone in another room through the glass that controlled all the things.
Posh.
A what?
Posh. Very posh that would be.
Very, very posh. All you had literally was a microphone, and there was a little button next to it called the cough button, which if you had a bit of a, you could press that. Now, I've actually got a little cough button on my Blue Yeti microphone here. So watch this. Look, I can cough. Now I can switch it back on. See, I'll switch it off like. And so because Radio Nottingham had one of these, I thought this is brilliant. I had a bit of a cough because of the tension of joining the BBC. And so during my first ever bulletin, I pressed that about 3 times just to go, I'm Jeremy Nicholas. This is Radio Nottingham Sport. Pressed the button and went, and after I came out, one of the engineers came up to me and said, oh, that was really good. The only thing is that cough button hasn't worked for 18 months. And the first bulletin was just full of me coughing. Do you remember that cough button not working?
That cough button not
No,
working.
you can't remember that.
Glenn got over the trauma of not having him taper the machine when he was recording.
Yes, you never really got over that trauma. Right, let's go for some other stories that I want to talk about. So, Mark, you should have gone to the to Wimbledon and then the Olympics. Was there ever any talk about doing the Olympics just on Zoom?
Well, how would that work then?
Well, I don't know, but everything I do these days is just, oh, we're going to do it on Zoom.
Did you see those pole vaulters
Yes.
in the garden? 3 different countries. They set up a pole vault in the garden, and they had an international event doing the pole vault, which I don't know if it worked or not. It was amusing for 10 minutes.
Doesn't help if you live in a 1-bed flat in Europe.
Vault over it. Yeah.
So I worked at the London 2012 Olympics. I did a few preview interviews for that, and then at the Paralympics I commentated every night on the athletics. And I remember one time walking through the Olympic Village, home of West Ham United now, although we don't much like it. It's not really a football ground. We'd rather have our old home back, where I got married. I'm not bitter about it. Move on. They sold it for flats. Dreadful people. So I was walking through. So I'm going to do a story now, which is just a joke, but I'm going to pretend it happened. It didn't. You know the joke. As soon as you said pole vaulter, you thought Jeremy will have. You thought he's going to do his pole vaulter joke. Yeah. So I was walking through the Olympic Village. Just bear with me, Mark. You know me so well, but the other two will think this is a real story. Right, we're back live. So I'm walking through the Olympic Village, and I saw this really tall bloke in a tracksuit just out for a jog. And so I said to him, "Oh, are you a pole vaulter?" And he said, "No, I'm German. But how did you know my name?" No, that's my true story. That's not a joke that I've just adapted. It's a true story.
I love how you laughed at your own joke, Jeremy.
I know, because I haven't heard that one since 2012, whereas I used to tell it all the time after dinners in 20. But after that, I thought I've had enough of that one. And then I moved on to the. I used to go out with the javelin thrower, but she chucked me. That was that was the other one.
Anyway. You're on a roll now. We'll just leave you to do your one-liners.
Yes. Okay. Now let's bring Sam in, because I always like to see who hasn't been talking as much as the others. And Sam's always very quiet. She's a shrinking violet.
So quiet.
like most West Ham fans, she never likes to talk too much. She always waits for a question. So Sam, you used to have a house in Holland.
I did, yeah.
How did that go for you?
So yeah, how did that go for me? So I used to work in the Netherlands, moved there in 2001, and one of our first purchases was a beautiful family home in the Netherlands. And when we knew we were moving to Ireland, when my husband got relocated there, we're like, well, what are we going to do with the house? We could either sell it or rent it out. So we thought, oh, we'll keep the house and then we'll rent it out. So we gave it to a rental agency, and a couple of years after we'd rented it, we got this phone call from my mother-in-law, and she was in absolute fit. She was calling and she was frantic, and she'd basically seen this on the news, a police raid happening at the very house that we were renting out. And what had turned out to be a drug lord had moved into our house and had been turned into a cannabis factory. And every floor, all 3 floors, every room was full of weed. And we only found out through through my mother-in-law seeing it on the TV and telling us that it had happened. So it was a complete disaster. And unfortunately, apparently that's not covered by insurance in the Netherlands. So that was a little financial crisis we had to deal with a few years ago.
You don't have much luck.
40,000 euros electricity bill.
40,000 euros. That's a lot of.
That's a lot of dosh.
Is it those lamps that they have to put? Is it
Yes.
hyponic or something?
My brother-in-law had gone over there and in the winter and he'd taken a picture of the house and there was all snow covered across all of the roofs. The only one, we should have got it from that clue. The only house without the snow was the one obviously that had all the lamps inside that we didn't know. But yeah, slightly awkward.
But I mean, growing drugs on all 3 floors. I mean, that's wrong on so many levels, isn't it? There we are. That's just the joke to end that story. You think you don't have much luck then, Sam, with business? Do you think so you comment? Do they think, oh, it's Sam, we'll take the phone?
Yeah, not had the greatest of luck over the years, but you know, things are on the up now, so we're all good.
Brilliant. Okay. And Nigel, with your birthday, I believe your son got you a very special present this year.
Well, each year my kids get the same concern. You know, what are they going to buy their dad? And I often say to them, just make me happy. Okay. That's my line, you know. So my son last year got married. My daughter now has a brilliant job with the BBC. Well, not with the BBC, with, I think, Channel 4. She's the casting producer for Naked Attraction. So,
oh, crikey.
I thought,
that's a cool job.
Sam's eyes just lit up there. But they always try and find me a present that's going to make me laugh. So we had a barbecue for the family on Sunday, and we were in the garden, and everyone said, you've got to stay in the garden. And all of a sudden I heard the ice cream van playing Happy Birthday, and they had hired an ice cream van to come into our close and serve us all ice cream. And I hadn't worked out why there were so many friends around coming to see me just on that moment. And I had the biggest double 99. If you're from the up north, you'll understand this, with monkey blood, which is red sauce if you're from the south. Okay. But a double flake, double 99. And by the time everyone had had their first one, I'd finished and I had to have a second because it was my birthday.
Such an awesome present.
Best present ever. And I took a picture and I was like this.
Brilliant. I used to be an ice cream man in summers from university. I used to drive an ice cream van around the housing estates in Suffolk on the Essex border selling ice creams. And in the business, a double 99, that's known as 198. You call that in the trade? Double 99. Yeah.
Oh, dear me.
So that's the silly joke to finish that bit. So let's
you get to the peak of your 8:30 where you get better, I'm hoping.
Yeah, 8:30 is when, but unfortunately that's when the show ends. But I always think on a Two Ronnies sketch that it's always quite good all the way through, and then they end it just with a ridiculous thing, and that's what I try and do. Just do a silly little thing to indicate that bit has finished.
So we know it's finishing.
Yeah. Now, Mark, when we were at Radio Nottingham together, do you remember that sometimes we'd do a thing where if someone was commentating at an event, the backroom team would give them a word they had to sneak into the commentary?
Yeah.
Did they ever do that with you, or was that just with me?
No, I think it was just with you. Yeah, I never got a word to slip in there.
I remember once being at Nottingham Forest commentating on a game, and the word I had to do was Lego.
Yeah.
They all come together with pieces like Lego. They're all playing together. They can all fit in together.
Yeah. And it was something like that. But didn't they do it? Was it literally just they just did that to me? They didn't. But you must have heard of people doing that in live
Just
sports
you.
commentaries
Just
where they
you,
say
Mark.
you've got to include a word.
Yeah, a lot of footballers give it to their colleagues in interviews. So they might have to say banana in a post-match interview, but they're not particularly subtle when they say it. They'll just randomly say banana to a question. But yeah, there's a lot.
There was something at a World Cup, wasn't there, when all the England squad started giving, was it song titles in things where they started dropping? There was obviously a challenge to see who could drop the most song titles in. Anyway, we've exhausted that, and I'm going to go to Sam because she appears to have been joined by someone who's photobombing the Zoom call. Now, who is that, Sam?
This is Lexi. She's totally photobombing. So yeah,
Is she a Labradoodle?
I adopted her right before lockdown. So she's a rescue dog.
What is she, Sam?
She is a Bedlington Terrier cross.
Okay.
So
Right. In fact, we're all dog owners, aren't we? I know all of us have got. Has anyone else got a dog they could hold up, or are they?
Alfie, as a Labradoodle, is too big to hold up. He's
Labradoodle. My sister's got one of them. They're
nearly
gorgeous.
40 kilos. We're not picking him up, okay?
I'll try and get mine. He's on the floor asleep, but if he sees me, he might run away.
Well, I'll get mine as well.
We should all just disappear very quickly. We should all just. Oh, too late.
Oh,
Is Jimmy Chew?
so gorgeous.
Chew spelt like dog chew. Because he likes chewing up ladies' shoes, and he always likes to. He often comes on show and tell when I'm on Zoom calls with clients.
Oh, hello.
Oh, he's growling because he can see your dog.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we'll put you down. Thank you very much. And then, and my other pet, who's a little bit quieter, is Yoda. It says Yoda there.
Oh, Yoda, nice. Yeah, I've got two, but Coco's comatose on the couch next.
Yours is a Labradoodle, Nigel. So that means you can't control Labradoodles. They've just got a mind of their own.
He has 1 in 28 itis. He has a medical condition where 1 in 28 dogs he can just lose it with, and it's just bizarre how from nowhere he just goes, oh, and then you just know there's trouble.
Yeah. Okay, Mark's come back without a dog. So
I think he took one look at you and then disappeared. He was down here. The dog's called Tuffers.
oh, right, like the cricketer.
Like the cricket, named after the cricketer. Yeah, yeah. Every time I went to a major event, my wife bought a pet, so it became a thing. And I'd always get
every time you went to an event, you bought a pet.
Yeah. So we had a dog, and then we got a budgie from 2012, and then Tuffers came in 2014. And I used to be horrified, but she'd say, well, at least the next time I might get a new man for 2016, but that never happened. But I always got the honour of naming. So
Nice.
Budgie, I could either be called Wiggo or Mo. And the dog was going to be Tuffers or Vorney. I think it's got to be Tuffers.
Yeah. What was the budgie? Did you go for Mo in the end?
Mo, yeah.
As in Mo Farah?
Yeah, or Wiggo, Bradley Wiggins.
Oh, we go for Bradley Wiggins, yeah. But Bradley Wiggins is more of a Derbyshire hero, isn't he? Than
Mo's a nicer name.
Mo's from near me in Hounslow. So yeah. And why is your dog? Why is your dog got the name that it's got, Sam? I've forgotten what it is.
I got them from a rescue centre right before lockdown, so they kind of came to us already from was a family that couldn't keep them anymore. So I've got Lexi, she's the mum, and Coco is on the couch here next to me, and he's her son. So I adopted them both right before lockdown happened.
The love that your Lexi is showing you is unbelievable.
It's because I've been on Zoom calls since 9 o'clock this morning, and she's just craving attention. So she's just like, please, mommy, please, can we play?
Well, let's end this one then, so we can all go and play with our dogs. And from next week, I'm introducing a new feature called "Bring Your Pets On" because I think it's really good.
So you waited till I haven't got my dog here to do that feature. So these are my pets. They're all part of my zoo.
Oh, the zoo! What about the mask?
So tell us about your zoo then, Nigel. It's to do with people's characteristics then as to what animals.
We have monkeys who are a bit like me. Then we've got Sam's a bit more of what I call an elephant. Nothing to do with size. It just means she's statistically, and she can do algorithms. Then we got the lions and the dolphins. I haven't got the masks just here, and so we just try and categorize people into different animals. But the real job is to become a zookeeper and feed the food the animals want more than getting labelled with a stupid title. So we have a special hat which we give to very few people, which is the Zookeeper Hat. And if you do really well, we award you in a glass dome your hat.
And so a lion is like leadership type stuff. So I'm guessing if you're a bit cheeky, I would be a monkey, presumably, would I?
You are a monkey, not funny, but you are a monkey. Yes. Mark is more of a dolphin. Sam is much more the elephant.
You think so?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, why is Mark a dolphin? What?
Because he's caring and nurturing, and he's got that look, and his head's tilted a little bit to the left when he shares, and that's what all dolphins do.
Yeah, I would think there's a lot of dolphins in the BBC. I would think because it's just a nice, caring organisation.
And you've got to be if you're going to be doing that type of work.
Excellent. Right. Well, we've come to the end of the show. This is the chance where everyone gets a chance to plug themselves if they want and say, are they available for speaking at stuff? So, Sam, how do people find you?
Well, given that I do a bit of LinkedIn stuff, probably the best place is to connect with me on LinkedIn. So, yeah, if you need more leads in your business and you don't have a clue what you're doing on LinkedIn, then hit me up on LinkedIn.
Right. Well, I better give you a call then. I've never really had much idea. LinkedIn, I just do it like Facebook. I just put pictures up. I don't really know what I'm doing. Nigel, if people want you,
I was going to promote Sam's LinkedIn post there. I've just, she's got some great content there. So I'm the chief zookeeper. I try and analyze people to make sure they can communicate really well and not have disruption in their teams. And I do a little bit of motivation, much more irritational speaking, and then just try and guide people to be the best version of themselves. And if they go to my website, there's a free assessment tool for them.
nigelrisner.com, presumably.
Yep.
That would be.
Very good.
And Mark, obviously you're a BBC man, but you must be available for doing a bit of MCing and a bit of after dinner type stuff, aren't you?
Well, I'll do stuff, but to be honest, I'd rather plug you, Jeremy. If you want a funny man, the best MC in the business, the best man in the business, then especially at this hard time, when I'm fortunate enough to be in a salaried job, and these guys around me are relying on good people spending money and creating business. It's really tough to be an after dinner speaker at MC at events when there are fewer and fewer events. But if you need any journalism training, interview training, presentation training, you need Zoom conference advice, then I'd go to Jeremy without a doubt.
Oh, that's lovely. See, he is a dolphin, isn't he?
Oh, he's such a dolphin.
I told you, there's no chance. Sam was trying to work out how to build that into her speech. I just couldn't remember that's what you did because I'm a monkey, but that just proves it, you see.
Yeah. I used to go out with a dolphin. First time we met, we just clicked.
Oh, I so knew that was coming.
You knew that was coming, didn't you? So that, I think we'll leave it there then.
Thank you so much indeed for allowing us to have after dinner with you. And my Diet Coke is here, so cheers, everyone. Enjoy.
Cheers. My drink's gone.
Cheers. Well, we'll say goodbye to people on YouTube and then we'll just stay behind and I'll sort out all your fees for appearing. Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye.
Be good. Bye.